The day my portfolio finally crossed $1 million, I did what most of you would do. I refreshed the screen 3 times. I stared at that 7th digit for a while. Then I closed my laptop, walked into the kitchen to pour a cup of coffee, and realized I felt absolutely nothing. The sun was still out, my back still hurts, the dog still needed to go for a walk. Most people spend 20 years fantasizing about this specific moment. We've been conditioned to believe that $1 million is the finish line, the point where the stress disappears and the wealthy life begins. But the truth is, crossing $1 million invested is the most disorienting experience in a financial journey. It's an invisible threshold where the laws of financial physics quietly change. The math starts behaving like a force of nature. Your relationship with risk fundamentally breaks. And the very skills that got you to this point, the hustle, the aggressive saving, the relentless tracking, suddenly become the exact things that can destroy you. Today, we're going to talk about the dark side of the 7-figure milestone. We'll look at the volatility terror that keeps millionaires awake at night, why doing nothing is now your most expensive skill, and the strategic shifts you must make to ensure this million becomes 5. Welcome to the 7-figure club. The rules have changed. The nonlinear engine. Why is $1 million the magic number? It's not because of the status. It's because of the compounding acceleration point. Until this point, your wealth has likely grown linearly, and your contributions were the primary driver. But at $1 million, your money becomes an employee that earns more than you do. At a 9% return, that first million earns $90,000 a year while you sleep, effectively replacing a high-level professional salary with a single portfolio. This is where the physics of money shifts, because while that first million took 20 years of grinding, the second one arrives in just 8 years without you adding a single cent. From there, the timeline collapses entirely as your wealth doubles to 4 million, then 8 million, in 8-year sprints that move faster than you ever could. You spent half your life building the engine, but now it covers more ground in a decade than you did in your entire career. The machine is self-propelled now. Your only job is to stay out of its way. The curve from $1 million forward is steeper than everything that came before it combined. Your portfolio is now a high-performance jet engine. On a good day in the market, a 2% jump, your net worth will swing by $20,000. That is more than most people save in an entire year, happening in a single Tuesday afternoon. This is the math reality. Your contributions of $2,000 or $3,000 a month now represent only 0.2 or 0.3% of your portfolio. They still matter for discipline, but for growth, they've become irrelevant. The portfolio is now self-propelled. Work as an option. This math leads to a psychological earthquake. Work becomes mathematically optional. If you follow the 4% rule, $1 million invested allows for a $40,000 annual withdrawal. For a lean FIRE lifestyle or a dual income household, that is a massive floor of security. If your portfolio is throwing off $30,000 in dividends and growing by $60,000 in capital gains, the realization hits. I don't actually have to be here. This sounds like a dream, but it often leads to a massive identity crisis. If you've spent 20 years identifying as a grinder or a high performer, what happens when the money says you don't have to grind anymore? On communities like r/financial independence, you'll see countless stories of people hitting $1 million and feeling a sudden sense of golden handcuffs. The stress of your job becomes harder to tolerate because you know you have the walk-away money. This gap between your daily reality and your financial reality creates an emotional void. You start to question your time, your career, and your purpose. The trap here is thinking that because you can withdraw, you should. Every dollar taken out at the $1 million mark is a seed that could have grown into $10. The freedom trap is the temptation to cash in your chips right as the compounding is entering its most powerful phase. Volatility and isolation. If the math is so great, why do so many 7-figure investors feel anxious? It's because of the volatility terror. When you had $100,000, a 20% market crash was a $20,000 paper loss. It sucked, but you could ignore it. At $1 million, a 20% crash is a $200,000 loss. Watching $200,000 evaporate in a single month, more than the average American earns in 3 years, triggers a primitive panic that no textbook can prepare you for. Suddenly, a 20% dip isn't just math. It's a physical wound that feels like a lost house or your kid's college tuition. This leads to a paralyzing fear where you're too terrified to buy the dip or even rebalance, haunted by the fact that you just lost 5 years of your life in 30 days. Then there's the silence that follows. You quickly realize you can't discuss a 7-figure portfolio with 95% of the people in your life because mentioning a $40,000 loss to a struggling friend makes you sound like a monster. This financial loneliness forces you into a life of stealth wealth, where you drive a 10-year-old car and manage a fortune in secret to avoid the guilt-tripped loans and quiet resentment of family. It creates a strange, split-screen existence where your internal reality doesn't match the world around you, leaving you financially free but socially isolated. Accumulator to steward. So, how do you handle this? You have to kill the person who got you here. You spent 2 decades being an accumulator. An accumulator is aggressive. They hustle. They look for alpha. They optimize every penny. But at $1 million, you must become a capital steward. A steward's primary goal is not to win. It's to not lose. At this scale, the biggest risk to your wealth is no longer not saving enough. The biggest risk is making one catastrophic mistake. A steward focuses on 3 things. 1. Extreme simplification. The accumulator wants to find the next hot stock or a complex real estate deal. The steward realizes that complexity is just a way to hide risk and fees. The most successful millionaires I know have the most boring portfolios. Broad index funds, low fees, and almost zero activity. As the data shows, after $1 million, your most valuable skill is the ability to be bored. 2. Tax defense. At $100K, tax efficiency is a bonus. At $1 million, it is your highest paid work. Between tax loss harvesting, asset location, and strategic Roth conversions, you can save $10,000 to $20,000 a year just by being smart with the IRS. Tax drag is the silent killer of 7-figure wealth. 3. Structural protection. If you have $1 million and you don't have an umbrella insurance policy and a living trust, you are being negligent. You are now a target for litigation. You need a shield. An umbrella policy is the cheapest insurance you'll ever buy, and it's the only thing standing between your portfolio and a freak accident lawsuit. The most expensive mistake. The most dangerous moment for a new millionaire is the moment they feel safe. You look at that $1 million and think, I've worked so hard. I deserve the upgrade. You trade the $300K house for the $600K house. You buy the $60K luxury SUV. But here is the millionaire math you need to remember. At $1 million, your money is at its peak compounding velocity. If you take $300,000 out of your portfolio for a house upgrade today, you aren't just spending $300K. Over 20 years at 9%, that $300K would have become $1.68 million. The luxury car that costs $60K today is actually a $330K loss of future wealth. The cruelest irony of the $1 million milestone is that the lifestyle upgrades that finally feel affordable are precisely the ones that prevent you from ever reaching $5 million or $10 million. You have to decide, do you want to look like a millionaire? Or do you want to be wealthy enough that your grandkids never have to worry about money? $1 million invested is a paradox. It is the realization of a lifelong dream, and yet it feels remarkably ordinary. It is the point where the hard work of doing ends, and the harder work of being begins. The skills that got you here, the frantic saving, the constant checking, are no longer the drivers. From here on out, your wealth will be determined by your discipline, your patience, and your ability to sit in a room and do absolutely nothing while the market swings. As Morgan Housel says, wealth is what you don't see. It's the cars not bought, the ego not fed, the portfolio not tinkered with. If you've crossed this milestone, or if you're closing in on it, I want to hear from you. What was the biggest surprise? Did it feel like a victory, or did it feel like an anticlimax? And what is the one lifestyle trap you're struggling to avoid? Drop a comment below. Let's talk about the reality of 7 figures, because almost no one else in your life will. You've built the engine, you've reached the threshold. Now, your only job is to let the math finish what you started. I'll see you in the comments.